We're here with my 2005 Chinook Glacier, and I have a leak in my HWH gasket right there where the connection point is. So we're gonna remove this slide out. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take that awning loose up there. I'm gonna take that cover off, and I'm gonna try and just disconnect the awning and kind of just set it up there. I'm gonna leave the canvas in place and just set the whole awning rail up there and strap it to that luggage rack bar up there and just kind of get it out of my way without completely taking it apart. And I don't want to have to rewind it, so I'm going to try and avoid unwinding the roll. Took the cover off of the awning. You can see it laying right there. And now I've unrolled some slack here. Now I've taken Allen wrenches. See, I've kind of just turned it backwards against the spring and put the wrench in there so the tension is on the Allen wrench. That way I can unscrew this thing right here and just set it up on the roof is my plan. There you go. So I put that Allen wrench in, pulled some slack out, took it loose right here and here, and then I just laid the whole roll up there on the roof so it's completely out of the way. Before I get too far into this, I'm actually going to take this door off. So when this is all in the way of that door opening, I'll still be able to get into that compartment, which has all the air equipment and things like that. So that door came off with just a few screws in the hinge. And that way, when the stable's here and the slide out's open and you need to get in there for something, I don't know that I will, but never done this before, so in case I do, that door won't be there and I'll be able to get in there easily. A smaller square head bit, Robertson bit, will take off these screws here and we can take this whole frame off. And it's going to be important that we also take this off, because this is what catches the top. That's going to prevent you from being able to pull this all the way out if you don't remove that. Remove this trim and remove these arms on the side of the couch. There's that whole piece removed. That opens all this up. I'm not sure, but I think, because I can't get these screws to back off, and I'm wondering if they've got a nut on the other side. So we might actually have to pull this ceiling panel out of the slide out. But for now, I think we'll focus on these arms. If you can see this in there, but there's two screws right in here. I'm pretty sure that's most of what holds this on. You can see this arm detaches down there. What I didn't expect, you gotta take the cup holder out. I don't even know if you can see this, but this thing is screwed down. There's a screw down in there going into this. Let me turn on a light here. I can't barely see it. The head of that screw way in there. Okay, so I figured out this issue. So you gotta take this trim off here. And at first you think, well, that didn't help me any. But if you notice, there's two holes in the leather. Well, the other one next to it had a tiny little hidden screw down under it that had pulled through the leather. So I got the same bit, the small square bit, Robertson bit, was able to get those screws out. So then this comes off, and then it's screwed to the slide out right there. So do that on these. Took me forever to figure that out, so hopefully this will save you some time. Do that, and then you can take these off. Let me show you what I mean on this side. So you take the trim off and see how there's more screw holes here than what you took off. So go to the other ones, and guess what? There's a screw in there. Just like that. So do that and take these armrests off so you can get to those screws in there. All right, so we got the arms off. The next thing we need to do is get the plumbing squared away, which is going to be those two connections right there. Unhook those two, and you've got some electrical connectors right here that go to the lights, water pump, all that stuff that's in the slide out. So unhook the water lines, unhook that, and that completely disconnects all the water and everything. So there's all our plugs for the lights, the couch, all that. I'm gonna pull that stuff over here. Here's our water lines, which mine have antifreeze in them. I'll try not to make a big mess. Next thing we're gonna do is take these screws out. We'll have to pull this ceiling panel down, and there's nuts on each of those. Let's do that real quick. All right, we got that taken off there. And I just laid it down with the shim under it the same way as I took it off, just so everything stays like it should. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is move this thing out just a little bit and try to disconnect the hydraulic cylinder where it connects to the outer wall of the slide out. I have to excuse the generator. So I think that bolt there, I think removing that, we'll be able to pull that shaft back in and the slide out will be free. Alright, so that went as planned. Took that bolt out and then ran the cylinder back in just a little bit to get it out of the way. So next, let's see how easy this is to push manually, and let's get the table moved. Took that cylinder loose, rolled it back in, so I can now push the slide in and out by hand. I've confirmed that. The next thing I want to do, or the last step I guess, is where it's actually connected here. Actually, you know what, I just realized something. I can take care of this right now. So this piece here is mounted to the floor. So as the slide comes out, that piece is gonna stay and come out through here. So this is gonna have to go, this piece right here. So if you haven't already taken that off, that needs to come off. And if you take these caps off, it's just some screws in there. So let me get this off real quick, since that just kind of occurred to me. Get that off and out of the way. That came off in two pieces. You got the leather piece and then you got the piece of wood behind it. So now as we back this slide out of here, this cylinder that keeps it all in line can just slide right out of here, nothing in its way, and we should be completely free here. All the way extended with some weight on the table. So now we got to take off the last piece. Alright, so we're gonna take those two loose, and I am wondering about a knuckle gap there. Do like that. Alright, so we run into one issue. That is that there's wires running down through here. And run, can't even see it, down through the floor, way back in there. So I went outside, went underneath, and I unplugged the other end of those wires. So we don't have any power here for sure. And I'm wondering if I should just cut these wires here and then reconnect them. All right, so I think I got something figured out here. I haven't cut the wires yet, but I did pull this plastic piece off the top of here, and I removed these sleeves that go in there. So I think I'm still gonna cut the wires, but they should be really easy to reattach. Okay, so I did cut those wires. Those will be able to lay down as this comes out. Now, just a reminder again, I unplugged these from the underside from outside to make sure that this didn't arc against anything. I don't know that it has power all the time, but just in case. Okay, this is where that wire comes through the floor. It runs along here. And if you come up here, plugs in right up here. There's a connector. See that connector up there? So you can unplug that wire completely and ensure that there's no power. These are the pieces I took off. So I don't know if that's the proper way to do that, but since there's no instructions on this, that's the way I did it. So everything is clear now, and we're ready to push this thing out. So, can you push the table while I push the sled so that it slides on the table? Because right now when I'm pushing here, I'm pushing the table here.
Oh, keep it from moving.
Yeah, keep the table from moving.
Keep going. You got keep going. You got like an inch. You're getting it. What do you think? Yeah. I think so. It's hard for me to tell. I can't feel nothing moving but that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What?
How far back are we on the table?
You still lack a good 6 inches. Okay. Keep going, keep going. Yeah, go again. Okay, I don't know, you like 3 inches now?
Alright, let me give it another push.
Okay, hang on. Okay.
That's the table feel.
Good. Good. So do you think most of the weight's back here?
Yeah. I think all of the weight is on the table.
Okay, you want to grab the other end and we'll slide it out together?
Real slowly,
Yeah.
because the table feel like it's gonna hold it.
Yeah. I think so.
We may drop. That's what I'm trying to make sure we're not free, I think. Should we slide it back a little?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah. You got a lot sticking out right here.
Where? Oh yeah, the floor is a lot. So this is the weight. So
Yeah. I would have thought taking this bench out.
it's more movable.
Yeah, it dropped probably an inch right here. So going back in, I can kind of teeter it up on there.
But you know, after feeling it, I think so let's take a look at this gasket. I've got it out a little bit here. Now, I'm not going to replace this gasket today. I might do that in the future, I don't know. But if you're taking this apart, you're most likely probably doing it to do that job. So I want to kind of show everyone what it looks like. So this is the gasket, and it fits into this track here, just like this. It kind of snaps down, and then this trim goes around it. So you see here's some of it put together. So you got to get a screwdriver or something and get under this trim and slowly pry it out on both sides. Once you do that, then you can pull the gasket out, and you'll do that all the way around, top and bottom, and then you'll lay that new gasket in there the same way, and you'll take a rubber hammer, little block of wood or something, put that gasket down, the new gasket back in the track, line up the air supply and all that. Then you'll take a rubber hammer, a little block of wood or something, and you'll slowly tap this trim piece here back in the groove to hold the gasket in place. So that's how you do the repair. And then of course you'll come under here and hook up your airline to the little fitting and all that stuff. But anyway, so that's how you do this job. Like I said, I know if most of you that are pulling the slide out are probably going to replace the gasket, and I might as well. If you're putting a new gasket in, you get your trim out, you put the gasket, push it down real good, and then this seems to work pretty good. Rubber hammer and a little block. Just kind of setting that block on that trim piece and tapping it in. Real easy. Make sure it's nice and flush. You definitely don't want to get in a hurry and damage your new gasket. So in this case, I'm not really that worried about it because this is the old gasket, which is probably going to get replaced later on anyway. But I would be very cautious if I had just put a new gasket in here. Do technically have this thing for sale, kind of, not officially for sale, but we are looking to get something bigger. So if somebody does buy this, we'll have to talk about this gasket, and I can replace it for them if they want, or we can come down on the price a little bit if they want to get it replaced locally. Whatever the case is, if I do sell it, but still undecided on that. So as we go back on with this thing, we're going to be real careful because these shims are just kind of stuck on here. They got these holes they line up in. So I'm going to make sure that these stay in place while we line them up with the opening. Same deal with these on this end. So, and then I want to make sure our wires fall in place properly. Now I don't have my second person here, so I'm gonna try and do this myself, but he said he could come back over this afternoon if I'm not able to keep this all together and get it lined up. He said he could come back and help me, but I'm gonna try it by myself, so let's see how it goes. So now we got this in far enough that we can get on our bolt holes here, which is what we were needing, because this kind of helps keep the slide out in. So we can go ahead and put these bolts back in. So remember, we have these sleeves here that have to go down in there. Like that. If these bolts don't line up, we may have to shift the slide out a little bit, but we still have that option. This is the only thing we've attached so far. This, we got to remember our wiring. Our wires got to run up through here. This metal bracket here faces this way, so the bolts go towards the back, and the hanger for this rod goes towards the inside. So yes, what else are we missing? This piece is going to go down like this. This is our stop point. Got to push our wires through here as well. Make sure we got everything in place. Okay, now let's see if we can line these bolt holes up, or if we're going to have to shift the slide. And I think we're going to line them up. I think we're doing good here. I'm not sure how tight these are supposed to be, but I know when I took them off, they weren't all that tight. So I'm gonna not over tighten them, just in case. That was for a reason. That'll be good there. As far as these wires go, I am going to use Wagos to put these back on, so that in the likely event that I have to do this again at some point, I will not have to recut wires and resplice and all that stuff. So I'm gonna trim these down. These Wago connections are one of my favorite things, because when you do have to revisit something, it makes things a lot easier. You don't have to cut and resplice and redo. You just disconnect, do what you gotta do. And we can plug this back in here, which we still don't have power going to it because we got that connection undone underneath. I'm gonna run this rod Back over here. Put it back in place right there. So I don't get too far ahead of myself, I'm gonna go ahead and re-plug in my electrical connections and water connections back there the same way we took them off. I won't bother filming that, but just like they came off, put them back on. Now we can verify that our light works and our couch controls. Everything seems to be working properly. Next thing I'm going to do, it's been really helpful to have a wall to push against. You have that option. What I'm doing is just inching this in. So you can get the table out and then hook up that hydraulic cylinder. Be able to get the table out from under it now. All right. Now we gotta line up this thing, which it should line up pretty good now. Let's see. Perfect. Now I just got to put that pointed bolt back in there. Bolts back in. This thing should move by itself now. Now we just got to reassemble everything on the inside. So let's retract it. Got to get it in far enough to put the plate back up here. So let's do that real quick. All right, everything is back together. Slide out's working good. Awning's back on. Again, this was a temporary fix, possibly. I'll probably end up replacing this gasket, especially if I do decide to sell it. So, as far as the job itself, everything kind of went how I expected for the most part. I took the time to remove the door going to the air pump connections and all that. Because I thought with the table here I was going to need to get in there and it was going to be in the way and all that. It didn't really turn out to be the case. I think if I ever do this again, I won't probably even take the time to take that door off, because once the slide was loose, we rolled it all the way back and we had plenty of room to get in there. So I would say if you find yourself going to be in a situation where you can't roll the slide out back very far, if you're just going to barely be able to clear, then you might take that door off. But other than that, probably wasn't a necessary step. Let's talk a little bit about this table in case anyone wants to do this. I just threw a couple of bath towels over the top to keep from scratching. But this table is 2 feet wide. It's exactly 8 feet long, so I got an 8-foot sheet of plywood, cut it in half down the middle, and made the 2 shelves. As far as height, it is exactly about 31 and a half inches. And I felt like the height was good. I think it could have been maybe a little bit taller, but I'd rather build it a little shorter, because you could always throw another piece of plywood on top of this or do something to elevate it. It's really hard to shorten it. So if I had to do this again, I would probably stick with a 31 and a half. These are actually cheap casters from Harbor Freight. I think they're like $5 a piece or something. These are 330 pound rated each. I have 6 of them on here. On the ends, I have fixed casters. In the middle, I have swivel. The reason I put swivel in the middle is because when this is all said and done, this is gonna be my new workbench. So I'll take the other fixed casters off on that end and I'll move the swivels down to that end, and then I'll turn these the other direction so they make a little more sense. These are 4x4 posts. I've got cross bracing with the 2x4s. Everything's bolted together with lag bolts. And so that's how that's put together. And this did fine. This wasn't shaky, it didn't creak. This table held that slide out like nothing. I think it could have held 2 of them weight-wise. It did not give any issues. So I would say if you're gonna do this, this seems to be a pretty good build. I think if you built it just like this, you should be fine. Overall, like I said, it was a good deal. It wasn't really as hard as I thought. Having a second person here for a little while was helpful. If you have 2 people, and you can have someone inside lining things up while someone else is pushing from the outside, or someone's holding the table while you're pushing the slide out on top of it like we did yesterday. That's helpful. So definitely probably call it a 2-person job, but you can do it by yourself if you're in a bind. So there you go. If you'll have any questions about this, let me know and I'll try to help you best I can.